Hey everyone, Tim with Collect Jurassic, and we're here with a very interesting Mattel Jurassic World unboxing. We're looking at the Sound Surge figures, which you may have never heard about because these aren't on US shelves, but they are pretty cool. They're electronic figures. They're of interesting scale, especially T-Rex here, which you'll see when I get it out of the box, of course. But we have Tyrannosaurus Rex and Carnotaurus Sound Surge figures to take a look at. You can tell by these boxes they have electronic roars. Obviously, they're part of the Dino Escape line. I love this Dino Escape branding on the box, this roaring T-Rex and logo on the side. And of course, on the back, you have the renders of the figures themselves, kind of showing that you press a button, they make a roaring noise. And I think the jaws open when you press the button, or maybe you have to do those yourself. Oh, look. On the side, they have little windows you can try me. You can really reach in there. So pretty cool. Again, these aren't in the U.S. These are from Mexico, actually. Huge thanks to Ernesto for sending me these, fellow collector who helped me out. I think when these were announced, earlier, I guess it was earlier this year, we all kind of freaked out. We're like, what are these weird $15 figures coming out that are a little bit cheaper and out of scale? But they had nothing to do with the 3.75-inch scale line. These are literally just a basic assortment intended for certain markets where, you can't have a big expensive T-Rex toy or a big Toro toy. So they kind of reconfigure the toy to make it make sense on the shelves and be a little more affordable. So $15 is the retail price on these. But let's go ahead and open them up. Enough about me talking about them. We'll go ahead and start with Carnotaurus here. One thing I thought was interesting was that it doesn't say Toro on here. This is supposed to be just Carnotaurus, I guess, which makes sense because if you look at the color, and I'll do a comparison, of course, it doesn't look like Toro. It looks like the basic Mattel Carnotaurus. But if you press the button, so it doesn't appear to manipulate the jaw. It basically just makes a roar. Two roars too, which is kind of cool. Could have just been one roar. But let's go ahead and open this box up. I can cut the top here and get it out. Yeah, Sound Surge is the name of these. They actually have their own assortment name, sort of like Wild Packs and Roar Attacks and Mega Destroyers. The leg comes undone too. So there's the Carnotaur. I can already see how budget this thing is. Oh, it comes with instructions too, that show you to just put the leg on and put the tail on, right? Boom, boom, and yeah, open the dinosaur's mouth with your hand. So that stuff's all going to be manipulated by your own hand. It's not tied to a button. Looks like the sound is the only thing that's tied to the button on these guys. But go ahead and pop Carnotaurus out. We'll go ahead and build Carnotaurus for what it's worth. We'll get the leg on. Interesting, this big old white thing snaps in. We also have the tail, which has a little bit of a notch on it to make sure we don't put it in wrong. Man, these things are hard to put on though. Like, this is not like to be built by kids. And there is Carnotaurus. Sound Surge Carnotaurus. First time I'm taking a look at these Sound Surge figures. So right out the gate, this thing is very similar to the Mattel figure, just with way, way, way less paint. The whole back side of the figure literally has no paint on it. It is just the red plastic through and through. But then when you get to the head, you get a little bit of that white underbelly, basically the part that shows in the window of the box. You also have some interesting patterns on the head. This is different. This does remind me of Toro, actually. This sort of like leopard pattern. And then the eyes, of course, have the little iris. The horns are painted. And the teeth are painted too. They painted the teeth on the top jaw. The bottom jaw is just solid molded plastic. So no painted tongue, no painted teeth. It's just all one color that happens to work well with the teeth. So literally they painted basically this part of the figure, and that's it, just from the chest up. You can see on this side it has a big ugly screw hole and like a weird speaker that's all wavy. Another one of those things that when these pictures first came out, everyone was like, "Oh my gosh, screw holes! Look out! Mattel's going to pull a Hasbro and start doing screw holes." But again, these are just these basic figures. I mean, clearly this is not meant to be a $30, $25, premium version of Carnotaurus. It's compromised for cost and for market, but still kind of an interesting little guy. He's got he's articulated on his legs. His tail, of course, is rotated, but even his arms have a little bit of articulation. For what it's worth on a Carnotaurus. And of course I noted that the jaw is posable. So, there's some play value here. Plus you add in the sounds. That's kind of fun. I mean, for, kids, this would be a fun toy if this is what you had access to and you couldn't get the other ones. It's pretty cool looking. It looks like it's from the movie, and it's got some roars. It's got a little bit of articulation and, a somewhat faithful paint job. Let's go ahead and get the Mattel, what is this? The Action Attack Carnotaurus, the very first Carnotaurus toy we got from Mattel. And you can just see how similar these figures are. They basically use the same model. It looks like they almost look identical, except the tail on the Sound Surge is way smaller. Everything else looks very much the same. Maybe the legs are a little bit taller on the Mattel Action Attack one, but I mean, it's in the same pose. Its head looks the same, all that stuff. I mean, the heads on these literally look identical. Same scale and everything, so nothing much changed. They took the great detail of the more expensive figure and kind of watered it down to a more budget-friendly version of Carnotaurus, with some interesting newness with the the weird speckling on the back, and of course we got those roars too. But pretty cool. Again, cheaper paint job to be expected, but that's Carnotaurus, Sound Surge Carnotaurus. Looks beautiful from the neck up. Everything else, and from this angle, not so much. But still an interesting figure to collect, especially when you're obviously a hardcore collector like me. But let's go ahead and look at the T-Rex. Very excited about T-Rex too. We can always get after a good Tyrannosaurus Rex toy, right? So this is the Sound Surge T-Rex. It's got the button on the top too. Classic T-Rex growl. Kind of a loud, echoey roar too. Let's go ahead and open this one up from the top. Pop the top off and grab the toy. Go ahead and slide it out. We won't even look at the instructions for this one. I think we know what we're doing here. It's not the most difficult toy to assemble. We'll get the main figure out, get that leg out that they package separately, as well as the tail out. And that should be all the pieces. You get the nice artwork on these back cards from Dino Escape with the fences and all that. And now let's go ahead and build a T-Rex. Go ahead and snap the leg on. Put the tail in with the notch going the right direction. And I think that tail's the right side up, right? Yep, and there she is. There's Rexy and all of her sort of shorter 12-inch glory with the roars. You have some decent articulation, of course, the tail and the legs. This guy's got posable arms too, which is funny. It's kind of a funny feature to build in for these kind of smaller armed T-Rexes or smaller armed carnivores. Then you have the mouth too. The bottom jaw is unpainted. So it's just the color of the bottom jaw. Teeth don't work quite as well here. And you can see the head, got the eye paint on it. It's got teeth paint. And then it's got that neck paint too, just on the neck, right? The bottom of the neck's painted, the top of the neck's painted, but that's it. They're not giving us any more paint on the rest of this figure. It's got that screw hole and that speaker, just like the Carnotaurus. That's just part of these figures. They just have a very, I wonder what kind of batteries these take. I'm curious if it's something you can like find at the store, or if it's like a special watch battery or something, because you wouldn't think they'd make the battery compartment so accessible if it wasn't kind of I can see them in there. They're watch batteries. You can see in that little slit that they're watch batteries. So interesting. They made the feet on T-Rex really big too, I think, to help it stand up. But I don't know, it's kind of fun getting a T-Rex this size, because, you know, we've had so many of the main figures. The main T-Rex figures are so large, they never really compromise the size. I wanted to show it next to the Stomp and Strike T-Rex. You can see how similar these are paint-wise. I mean, this one's got the same color bottom jaw. I mean, the same patterning on the neck if it went all the way down in this figure. And I guess, you know, the Extreme Damage T-Rex too has the same paint job. So it's like this is the 2021 Mattel T-Rex in all three sizes. But isn't that kind of fun that you can kind of get like almost like a different life stages? This is like a juvenile T-Rex basically. This is what this could be. It's sort of like a like the young T-Rex that Mattel's never given us. It even looks quite nice next to a human. I mean, I guess it looks like an adult T-Rex shrunken down. It doesn't really have those exaggerated young T-Rex proportions, but I don't know. I still kind of like this size. It's fun. It's different. Also have the 6-inch figure, the basic 6-inch figure. They haven't done that in this colorway yet. I'm sure they will. But you can see basically all the different sizes of Rex that Mattel has created through the ages. You have the main, always like the bigger kind of feature T-Rex toy. Then you have the Extreme Chompin' T-Rex. In this case, it's the Extreme Damage. And then, of course, the new Sound Surge, and then these basic 6-inch figures. But this guy is definitely unique in that his size is he's so small. I mean, we'll go ahead and get Owen back in here to do another size comparison for both Carnotaurus and T-Rex. You know, with Owen, I mean, the Carnotaurus still looks pretty good size-wise. I mean, it's a little bit on the smaller side, but I mean, it works too. And the T-Rex, you know, like I said, it's kind of like a young T-Rex, but without the young proportions. But this sculpt detail is really nice on the T-Rex. Look at all the wrinkles and stuff. We got the scars on the back. I bet there's a scar on the leg over here, or a scar on the neck that we always see on this side. So a lot of nice detail packed into a cheaper figure. It's definitely a bummer on this one how the bottom teeth aren't painted. You definitely notice it here more than you do on the Carnotaurus, but you know, that's okay. It's consideration for how cheap these figures are supposed to be. Jaw gets way wide, but you know, again, you got to look at these toys for what they are and where they're supposed to be released. You know, in some countries where they don't have the shelf space, this would be a cool T-Rex to get. It's undeniably a Jurassic Park T-Rex. You can get it for about $15 when you find it. So that's pretty cool for what it is, screw holes and all. I'll forgive them, you know, based on what it's supposed to be for. So Sound Surge. There's also another one on the way, Limbo Baryonyx, and I wouldn't be surprised if that's not the next or the last one in this wave. It'll come out next, but I'm guessing they'll probably do more Baryonyx. They might even do a couple Raptors. Who knows? Maybe they'll do some herbivores. That'd be cool. But very unique assortment, new for this year, kind of like the basic 12-inch figures, but with electronics and a little bit more articulation on the figures, just a little bit with those jaws, but not much. Pretty fun stuff, though. As always, I love adding stuff like this to my collection because it's so unique. But I think that's all I have to say about Sound Surge, T-Rex, and Carnotaurus. Again, I'm Tim with Collect Jurassic. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.